The Kodiak bear. What hunter wouldn't perk up when he heard those words? Over the years, Kodiak Island has produced so many big brown bear that brown bear taken on the island are nicknamed Kodiaks. Our guides call them brownies. The year was 1959 in late May. You are viewing below some of Kodiak Island's rugged mountains and jagged coastline. Long arms of the Pacific Ocean cut deeply into the interior of the island. The island is about 85 miles long and 40 miles wide. My name is John Colby. My father was Colburn Colby. We are being flown from the town of Kodiak to the far southwest end of the island to join our bear guides Bill Pinnell and Morris Talifson. Their main camp is on Olga Bay at the location of an old salmon cannery. Pinnell and Talifson are highly respected, and over 1/3 of the Alaskan brown bear that are listed in the record book were taken by hunters guided by these two men. They began their bear guiding in the 1940s. Brown bear are found along Alaska's coast from the Alaska Peninsula all the way down to Alaska's Panhandle. At one time, Kodiak Island must have been attached to Alaska's mainland. Here are Bill and Morris. Bill is wearing the glasses. Here is my dad on the first day of hunting. He is in the yellow and black check shirt. That's Morris Talifson with the billed cap. I am in the Army field jacket at the age of 25. The young man handling the engine is Joe Want, one of our packers. Joe is now a registered Alaskan guide who takes parties by mule train into the isolated Brooks Range near the Arctic Circle for a variety of big game animals. On day one of our hunt, we counted 11 bear, but none of them interested Morris. Some were small and some were rubbed. We hunted afoot and by boat on our first day. We were booked for a 14-day hunt. Here comes the female bear that my dad will take. This is on day 2. Our camera has a powerful 10-power telephoto lens, making this bear look pretty close. A big female in the 1950s would grow to square out about 9 feet. A very few male brown bear in those days would square out around 11 feet. With today's hunting pressures in Alaska, a 9-foot male bear is considered a very fine trophy. Hunting in rubber hip waders on day 1 left my dad's legs pretty sore and weak. So on this day, Morris boated us down the shoreline of Olga Bay to a hunting area that would be easier on Dad's legs. Still, my dad, who was 62 years old on this hunt, was really pooped out when he did his shooting. Dad and I each took our bears using scope-sighted .30-06 rifles, firing 180 grain custom-loaded Nosler partition bullets. There is Dad's bear standing broadside at about 100 yards in the center of that clearing. There she is hit and goes down for an instant. There she is hit again in the lungs and she heads for the alders. Morris, with a .375, helps Dad finish her off. Dad was lightning fast with a shotgun. He was Texas State Ski Champion in 1938 with 295 broken out of 300. Then he was state runner-up in 1940. The morning of our third day, it was decided that I would hunt without my father. Morris and assistant guide Darrell Farman would take me to the Red Lake area some 6 miles from our base camp. Jack, a packer, would go along also. My Alaskan packboard contained a rain jacket, camera equipment, and a pair of lug-sole leather boots that I intended to use on a stalk. Boy, am I glad I took those boots. There is Morris setting up the spotting scope to view my bear. Darrell Farman is beside him. The bear is bedding down on a mountainside directly behind the packer's head, right there, some 2 miles distance. Here I am reenacting the shots that took my bear. He looks close through the telephoto lens. My first shot goes into his lungs and shoulders. He spins around 3 times but won't go down. Shot 2 misses through the alders. Shot 3 breaks his left shoulder and he is still not completely down. Shot 4 breaks the old bear's neck and he tumbles down the hillside, coming to rest at the edge of Red Lake. As the hillsides echoed with the reports of my rifle, Darrell Farman, who had been filming the shooting, turned to me and said, "John, that was some of the best shooting I've ever seen. That range is nearly 300 yards. My rifle was zeroed at 250 yards. I had estimated the range at 250. Darrell, that was over 30 years ago. Without your expert help, I would never have had those 4 shots, rather lucky shots at that range. So here is a toast to you, Darrell Farman, with a shot of Cutty Sark Scotch, of course. That day you were part quarter horse, part mountain goat. What a chase we had, what a trophy." We reached the spot where the bear was bedded down, high on the hillside. He had been napping there. When we got there, he was gone. Morris quickly turned to his assistant, Darrell, and said, "The bear probably would be on the bear trail by Red Lake, heading upwind looking for a female to mate with." Morris stayed behind, and Darrell and I took off our packs, then lit out on a dead run. I had done lots of shooting and lots of hiking and running to prepare for the hunt. With Darrell a few feet ahead of me, we ran and ran and ran along the steep hillside. We scrambled over gullies that were so steep I still don't like to remember them. After about 1/2 mile of running, the bear came into our view and Darrell immediately said, "Take him." I slid into a sitting position, and 4 shots later I had my brown bear. We paced off the range, 275 to 285 yards. If we had arrived 20 seconds later, we would never have seen him. They've turned the bear over on his back and they're skinning him out. That white-looking portion of his belly is fat you're looking at. A bear looks a lot like a gorilla or a man when he's skinned out. Morris said that my bear hide would weigh between 90 and 100 pounds. It would go back to camp part by boat and part on Darrell Farman's back. There's Morris working on my bear skull. Darrell Farman is there with the bear on his back. Here I am panning my camera up the hillside to where I shot from, high above Red Lake. There in the center of the screen. This is the steep hillside that Darrell and I ran along to catch up with my bear. See all those gullies we crossed? The next day back in camp, we prepared to photograph the skull and the hide. If I had submitted my bear skull measurements to Boone and Crockett, it would have ranked tied at 70th place with a total of 28 and 15/16 inches. The world record in 1959 was 30 and 12/16 taken in 1952. That record probably still stands. In those days, a hide that squared out 10 foot was a very fine trophy. My hide squared out an even 10 feet. Alive, my bear would stand over 8 feet tall. The heaviest Kodiak ever cut up and weighed by my guides totaled 1,407 pounds. It was a tradition at Pinnell and Talifson's bear camp that hunters' hides be photographed hanging on the wall of their pelting shed. My hide is going up here. Spring bears have longer hair than fall bear, but fall pelts are very thick and without any rub spots. My bear was very slightly rubbed. The guides estimated that my bear would weigh 1,000 pounds. A few days after I took my bear, Darrell Farman, I, and Jack, a packer, hiked in to the Red Lake area for 2 days of stream fishing for steelhead. Steelhead are found from northern California to Alaska. They are a close cousin to the rainbow trout, yet they migrate to sea like a salmon, returning to streams of their birth 2 or 3 times to spawn. The world record is over 30 pounds for steelhead. The steelhead we caught here went from 4 to 7 pounds. They are very good battlers, and on that day they hit on silver spoons. This video is being narrated in 1990. I have read that the bear camp of Bill Pinnell and Morris Talifson is still in operation. They have a staff of younger guides to accompany their hunters. In the 1980s, 2 books were written about Bill and Morris. One is titled Pinnell and Talifson, Last of the Great Brown Bear Men. The other book is titled Track of the Kodiak. They are both published by the Great Northwest Publishing Company of Anchorage, Alaska. In 1959, the cost of the hunt was $900 each to me and to Dad. Bill and Morris offered a 14-day hunt. Some guys offered a 10-day hunt for $1,000 to $1,200. My dad and I have dreamed of a hunt for Kodiaks since I was a small boy. Thanks, Bill and Morris. The bears were plentiful. Your guiding skills amazed me. I thought your bear camp was first rate and your meals were delicious. Dad and I took along our own fishing gear. On the trip, I particularly enjoyed using a heavy fly rod to fight these steelhead with. We returned all our fish back to the water. Back at camp, I am cleaning some native trout for supper. Olga Bay is behind me. That's my dad having a shave before we left camp. Dad died of a massive heart attack 7 years after our trip. Our quarters were warm with nice beds, hot running water, and bathtubs. Here comes our seaplane, taking two city dudes back to civilization after a long planned for, once-in-a-lifetime hunt on Alaska's Kodiak Island for giant brown bear.